Well, Nishikant Dubey has filed a complaint with the anti-corruption body Lokpal demanding a criminal case. He went on to say that the ED and CBI should initiate an inquiry. Well, we'll come to that. But first, let's also take a look at the Twitter war between BJP MP Nishikant Dubey and TMC MP Mahua Moitra. So, of course, now Nishikant Dubey has claimed that she was in India when a parliamentary ID was used in Dubai. He also claimed that the National Informatics Centre or NIC had disclosed the information to the probe agency. So this is an important development here, that he claims that this information has now gone to the probe agencies as well as the ethics committee. Well, posting on social media and on the social media platform X, he says an MP spawned the country's security for some money. The MP's ID was opened from Dubai when she was in India. The NIC has given this information to the probe agency. Now, this is important because remember, so far no probe agency has begun the investigation. So, well, remember Nishikant Dubey had earlier accused Mahua Moitra for taking bribes to target the Prime Minister and businessman Gautam Adani in Parliament. Mahua Moitra, meanwhile, has hit back and said that I request the NIC or the National Informatics Centre to please release all details of all MPs publicly to show where they were physically when their IDs were accessed by their PAs, researchers, interns or staff. Well, this, as Mahua remains firm on her stand that these allegations are baseless and politically motivated. So this is how the Twitter flashpoint is in a sense playing out. But this also, as I said earlier, now Nishikant Dubey has filed a complaint with the Lokpal, which is essentially the anti-corruption body or the corruption watchdog. And in fact, Nishikant Dubey tweeted saying that I'm tired of hearing CBI. I filed a complaint with Lokpal. Only Lokpal looks after the corruption of MPs and ministers. CBI is its medium. So this is the latest as far as this political controversy is concerned, in which Mahua Moitra now finds herself cornered in a sense. And now the big development also has been that he has reached out to the corruption watchdog. In fact, let's also take a look at another tweet by Nishikant Dubey, where he says that while on the state level, various political parties, including from the opposition space, rely on businessman Gautam Adani to get investment and to work with them for investment, but on the central level, they do not. They condemn it and they are against it. And well, this also, as Jay Dehadrai, the lawyer who had come out with the allegations earlier in a letter, has now written to the Delhi police chief. He says, I'm writing under distressing circumstances and there's a serious threat to my security and my safety. This, as he claims that he was pressurized. In fact, he also goes on to say that the SHO of a particular police station was pressurized by Mahua Moitra to threaten him. And this also has a lot to do with that contentious dog Henry, which is also in the middle of this controversy. So now Jay Dehadrai has written to the Delhi police chief.
No comments on this particular issue. We have nothing to say on it. So no comments, please.
So your political, that's in political?
No. Regarding particular this issue, All India Trinamool Congress will not say a single word. We have nothing to say and no comments on the particular issue.
So who is speaking on this issue, sir?
The related person may explain or answer the issues, but not Trinamool Congress.
And well, now on the broadcast, I'm being joined by very special guests. Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swaraj, is with us. Also on the panel, Ashwani Dubey, advocate of the Supreme Court. Vijay Sardara, a renowned economist, is also with us. Ashwani Dubey, going across to you first. Now, this development is interesting because now Nishikant Dubey has said that I filed a complaint with Lokpal. Well, so far it's been about ED and CBI. But talk to us about Lokpal. What is its jurisdiction? What can it do? It is the anti-corruption body, the corruption watchdog. But talk to us about how it's significant in this particular case.
Yeah, that's great. When the Lokpal and Lokayukt Act, which passed in 2013 with amendments in the parliament, when the Jan Lokpal movement led by Anna Hazare in 2011 took place. So the powers and functions of Lokpal is that it supervises all public officials and can adopt appropriate legal action against any organization or any individual if they do not operate in accordance with the law. So it may take action suo motu or respond to a private person's complaint. If there is a prima facie case against a public official before an investigating agency has opened an investigation, Lokpal may summon or question that official. Why it is significant and important here? Because on the complaint of Mr. Nishikant Dubey, a member of parliament, and based on the affidavit of Mr. Jay Dehadrai and the Darshan Hiranandani, the Ethics Committee of Parliament, which has prima facie found that there is a breach of the privilege of Article 105 of the Constitution of India, and breach of privilege is committed, and the committee has been appointed of the 15 members committee. But before that, when any other action, when prima facie it is on the record, prima facie in the public domain that the corruption has committed or questions have been asked in lieu of the gratification or something, and there is a close proximate link, commercial nexus between a parliamentarian, between a businessman, and login ID and password had been shared with a person who is sitting abroad, who is not in India, and out of 61 questions, allegedly 50 questions were asked for the business interests. So these are the questions which are very significant, and that
so essentially you mean that these are corruption allegations, and Lokpal is a body which has the jurisdiction to probe these corruption allegations, and of course all the other allegations that you just mentioned.
Correct.
in terms of a collision or nexus, as you put it. But going across to you, Tushar Gupta, because there's also political messaging here, because if you look at Nishikant Dubey's tweet, it's quite interesting. He says, I've heard enough about CBI and ED, and there's all this sort of perception as well that ED and CBI, I beg your pardon, are acting at the behest of the central government. So in a sense, politically, do you think this is to counter that narrative that he's now gone to the Lokpal?
Look, there is no political narrative here. TMC itself has distanced itself from Mahua Moitra. There has been no stellar defense for the parliamentarian either by Derek O'Brien or from the Chief Minister herself, Mamata Banerjee. And these allegations on Mahua Moitra, they are not from a BJP perspective alone. There is a lawyer involved, there is a businessman involved, there are signed affidavits that have been submitted. The allegations are very, very serious. This is not a routine corruption scam that, you probably see with some other party. This is about national security as well. The allegations are so serious that it is being asked that was there a third party or a person asking questions through Mahua Moitra's parliament account, the login credentials that were shared, to specifically attack Adani and to get information pertaining to certain policies from certain parliamentarians. Now, we know how the Adani whole circus around Adani has been running for the last 8 good months since February, when the short seller report came out, and then you had all the opposition parties sort of ganging up against Adani. The question is, now that this businessman has decided to turn an approver, and there has been a talk about some goods being exchanged in lieu of some favors being offered by the parliamentarian in terms of the policy answers and all that, how much of it is true? Okay. With the TMC distancing itself from Mahua Moitra, things do not look good for Mahua Moitra. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm surprised that the TMC has not asked for her to resign or suspended her until...
Okay, but coming back to the investigation, because so far no probe agency has in a sense taken cognizance of the complaint, or so far the investigation has not begun. So, Vijay Sardana, then do you think going to the CBI was in a sense a mistake on the part of Jay Dehadrai, because it has been pointed out earlier as well that this is not in the jurisdiction of the CBI to probe these kind of allegations. So then, do you think Jay Dehadrai shouldn't, in a sense, should have not gone to the CBI at all with this complaint, because so far the CBI has not taken any cognizance of it?
First of all, good evening to all of you and the viewers. See, what you are saying, look from a petitioner point of view. There is an agency who is known to investigate certain criminal or I will say that illegal act in the country. Now, whether I should go to police, I go to IB, I go to CBI, I write to PMO, I write to Chief Justice of India, it does not matter. For example, if I write to CBI and CBI feel that we are not the right agency, they are always in a position to forward it to the concerned agency. This does not mean that there was no crime in the country. So let's not go into technicalities. And if CBI tomorrow goes, and or in the cross questioning, if tomorrow somebody says why CBI has not taken action, CBI cannot go to the court and say, they have written letter to us, we have no jurisdiction, so we have thrown the application in dustbin. That is not the way system should work. And this has happened many times within the jurisdiction, within the police department. Okay, this was not my area, that was not my area. And that's why the concept of zero FIR came.
Yes.
Okay, let's take the cognizance of the event or the activity or the illegal act. Whichever agencies is the right agency, the concerned agency will forward. Okay, please look into it. It is your domain.
Okay,
Now,
Ashwini Dubey, come in on this point.
You do
Coming on
not
this point
expect
of
citizens to know everything that who is the right agency where.
Okay. But Ashwini Dubey, don't you think it's gone into too many directions? Because, on the one hand, you have Jay Dehadrai, filing a complaint with the CBI. On the other hand, you have him today coming out with this letter of how he's written to the Delhi police chief. The third aspect, of course, is the ethics committee and how they say that they've also received Hiranandani's affidavit and they will be probing the matter as well. Where does the, in whose court does the ball lie? Is it the ethics committee now who will take further action? Where does it go from here? Because there are too many angles, and those have made this story extremely convoluted.
Yeah, Vedant, look, that matter has gone now out of the purview of the ethics committee as well. Ethics committee is only investigating whether there is a breach of privilege, where there is any legality involved in the letter of Nishikant Dubey that the login password ID credential had been shared. That's an altogether different aspect. Whether the contempt of the parliament has been committed, where there is a breach of privilege of Article 105 of the Constitution of India. Now, based on the affidavit of the Darshan Hiranandani, and if you see which has been attested by the official of the Consulate General, and that too based on the applications and the complaint of Mr. Jay Dehadri, that speaks of the corruption. That speaks of the proximate link between a parliamentarian and as well as the person who has a business interest, and in lieu of that, the questions, in lieu of the gratification and the gift, the questions have been asked. So exactly, if we see the powers of the CBI cannot take any suo motu action on its own. There has to be either recommendation by the government or by the order by the court. But here the Lokpal, which is a statutory body which is empowered to take suo motu action or respond to a complaint filed by any individual if there is a prima facie case against a public official before an investigating agency has opened an investigation. So the Nishikant Dubey has already chose to the right direction by filing a complaint to the Lokpal that look, CBI is not empowered to take suo motu action.
Okay.
Second, the ethics committee will take proving this action. Third, where there is a breach of privilege of Article 105 and where there is an illegality of the claim.
So that's an important point also, and Tushar Gupta come in on this, because as an editor of a media organization, do you think that a lot of it is just wild allegations, because a lot of it is extremely serious as well and must be probed by investigating agency, but a lot of it is also perhaps what many would call wild politically motivated allegations, whether it is allegations about her receiving gifts or all that business about their dog Henry. A lot of it is personal and vicious as well, as many would say. How do you separate the two? Allegations that perhaps are important and admissible in court, and allegations that are just nasty and vicious.
Vedanta, you're absolutely spot on. Some of those allegations do come across as vicious to a third person, but that is what happens when the professional and the private lives overlap. I mean, I'm not saying that all those allegations have to be admissible in court or to be probed. Some of them are too difficult to be probed, especially the ones made in, about the private life, about the dog, for instance, or for the gifts that were exchanged, for instance. That would be very difficult to probe. But again, this is what happens when the professional and private lives overlap. There's nothing that the agencies can do about it. The affidavit that has been signed by the businessman and the lawyer both were close to the parliamentarian in question. And since you also spoke about other allegations, the ones which are politically motivated, There was also this talk about Mahua Moitra colluding with some journalists from the New York Times, from the Financial Times, when it came to reissuing certain reports against the Adani Group. Now, how does that work when it comes to the ethics committee? That's also a question that needs answering. But I agree with one of the panelists who said that this investigation is now going in a lot of directions.
Yes.
The allegations need to be probed because some of them are of a very, very grave concern. I mean, a parliamentarian sharing her credentials for someone else to post the questions, that is serious. The dog, the pets, the good bags, that all can take care of itself. But the important point here is, were the parliamentary credentials shared with an external party with some vested interest? That's the point that worries me.
That's a very important point there, that ultimately it's about the fact that whether Lok Sabha login credentials were actually shared with a third party or not. But Vijay Sardana, the last word to you. We are looking at larger questions here as well in terms of this nexus, as you said, between say politicians and corporates and some journalists as well. So what is the way forward? How do we investigate this?
See, you have to look at, we started the whole issue with a dog. And today there are already 13 players in the game. Please read the, Mr. Hiranandani, Darshan Hiranandani's affidavit very, very carefully, especially paragraph number 11 and 12. There are names of 3 Indian politicians, 3 business entities, law firms, as well as some opinion leaders and 3 international news agencies.
Right.
Now, just think of about what was the need for Mr. Darshan to write all these things in detail, which was not covered in initial letter. It means there is more than what we are discussing and anticipating. So my request is to the to our investigating agencies, it is no more an issue of dog or between 2 friends, those who became bitter to each other.
Yes.
Now, Darshan Hiranandani's affidavit should be the root cause and every angle should be investigated.
Okay.
Maybe Mahua Moitra or other people are just one of the pawn in the bigger game. So I think there are much bigger issues with investigation and security agencies should lay their hands on. Let's not brush it aside
and as
by
you said
saying it
earlier
is
as
just
well,
a fight
we must
between
continue
2.
to underline the fact that these are only allegations. It's still in the realm of allegations, and a security agency perhaps has to probe these allegations because they're extremely serious ones. But thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight on this very important debate.